Next, we are going to go over the complement rule for probabilities. So to start, let's think about our hearts from our deck of cards. In our deck of cards, we have 13 hearts. So our probability of getting a heart is 13 out of 52. But now, what about the probability of not drawing a heart from our deck of cards? Well, in our deck of 52 cards, 13 of them are hearts, which means that the other 39 in that deck are not hearts. So our probability of not getting a heart is 39 out of 52. It's essentially what we have left over that do not satisfy that criteria of being a heart. This essentially is what we call the complement of an event. So if we have an event E, the complement of it, we are going to call E, and then it gets sort of an exponent notation of being C to denote that it is the complement. And what this is the opposite of our event E. We can also think of it as being everything in the sample space that is not in E. So in our example with our hearts, well, we have our entire deck of cards. 13 of those are hearts. The complement is everything that's not a heart. It's the entire opposite. So you're either a heart or you're not a heart in the deck of cards. So now, to calculate the probability of the complement of an event, this is a really easy formula to use. Our probability of the complement of E is simply just equal to 1 minus the probability of E. And that's because if we add these two events together, probability of E plus probability of the complement, this should cover our entire sample space. Where in both of these two sets, we are looking at everything in part of our sample space, and then the other one we're looking at the rest of the stuff in the sample space. So when we add these together, this has to equal 1. Otherwise, you're missing elements from one of the two events, and you don't actually have the complement then, because the complement is everything else. So now, let's do another example with this. Our probability of drawing a face card from our deck of cards, well, we saw that there was 12 face cards out of the 52. So now, what is the probability of not getting a face card? Well, our probability of not face card, that's going to be equal to 1 minus our probability of getting a face card, which we have our probability of getting a face card. So we have 1 minus 12 over 52. And now, if I don't want to do this in a calculator, one way I could figure this out is to remember that 1, I can rewrite that as being a fraction of being 52 over 52. And now we are subtracting our 12 over 52. And this then gives us common denominators between the two fractions, so we can subtract the numerators to get 40 over 52 as our probability of not getting a face card.